Emerald Seaglass is a charming, retro-looking, absolutely gorgeous ROM hack, which takes Hoenn and brings it to this elevated Generation 2 pixel art playthrough with immaculate vibes. It is beautiful from sprites to tiles and has so much care and heartwarming surprises hiding in every single corner. A love letter to fans who really missed the way that Pokémon looked in our Game Boys back in the day. And that's why it's become so popular. It looks like everyone on this website is playing it. All of your favorite YouTubers like FlygonHG, Party Arlie, and Cecily. And when I was exploring this game in my girly pop hardcore Nuzlocke, someone really special appeared in the chat to say hi. Nemo622, the creator of Emerald Seaglass, who is actually a subscriber of this little channel. So we talked for a bit and I thought, we never really hear on YouTube the experiences of people who create these fan games for the community. Wouldn't that be cool? And that's exactly what you are watching today. So I sat down with Nemo and we had a lovely conversation about the art direction of Emerald Seaglass, how they built this unique atmosphere in Hoenn, which advice they would give to people who want to create their own ROM hacks, and even an exclusive announcement and teaser of the follow-up to Emerald Seaglass, set to release in a few months. So, dear stranger online, meet Nemo, the face behind Pokémon Emerald Seaglass. So yes, thanks so much for joining to talk to me today. This was a blast to playing through Emerald Seaglass. I'm so glad that you reached out, actually. I got so many questions on stream about art direction and I really want to hear more about inspirations and stuff like that. So yeah, just maybe start with your quick introduction, tell us about your game and everything else.
Yeah. So I'm Nemo. I'm the developer of Emerald Seaglass. Originally, it just kind of started as like a tech demo thing almost. I had some assets for the game and I was just like, I wonder if it would work in like a Pokemon game. And then it kept going. And now like a bunch of YouTubers I watch are playing it. It's crazy. I was developing it for like a few months before I announced it. I think I like publicly announced it in like July, and I didn't expect much attention around it really. And then it kind of blew up on like the ROM hacking like subreddit, I think. And I made a Discord for it, and that server I think it's like 25,000 people now. Like it's unbelievable. I guess like the art style was the biggest draw to it. I don't think I've seen much like that in like other ROM hacks. So I guess that caught the attention of some pretty big people. It's crazy.
Yes, I think it's such a breath of fresh air. I was talking about this yesterday on stream, how like you usually see people taking old games and remaking them in a newer visual. And for me, I'm a sucker for Gen 2. I think you can see it right here. And I love the Gen 2 feeling and aesthetic and pixel art. And I think yours is one of the few ROM hacks that I've seen that actually, you know, takes that aesthetic and bring it back to the Game Boy era to take a more it's Gen 3, sure, but it's a more modern game and you're taking it to a direction that we never seen it before. And I really appreciate that. I know you were working with some tiles from different artists and different pixel artists. And you said it was a tech demo, but like, is this a game, okay, I want to make a game that looks like I want it to look? Or is there a vibe that I want to go for? What were you trying to achieve specifically?
So I was really inspired by like the Kanto Redrawn and Johto Redrawn projects. If you've seen anything about those are like the collaborative art pieces where they like redrew the whole region looking really awesome in like a retro style. And I was super inspired by that. And one of the artists I believe behind that and like some other works similar to that, I believe they're pronounced Zebuka or something on Twitter, actually produced like tiles that you could buy, like a tile set that you could use in your own games. And so I ended up buying that. It was like 10 or 15 bucks or something like that. And I just started out by kind of playing around with it. And I was like, I just think it'd be cool to see what it would look like. After a little bit, I was like, this is something like actually kind of interesting. Like, yes, people might want to play this other than just me. So I started getting it ready for like a public reveal. Originally, it was just gonna be for me. I wasn't even gonna release it. So
I'm happy
at a
it's
certain point, I
online.
was.
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, at a certain point, I was like, okay, I feel like I should like show other people this maybe.
That's great. We talked a little bit before you showed up on my stream. I asked you a few questions already, so I'm cheating here. But you talked about a little bit the Saffron City TV, like how to fix Hoenn when you're putting this together. I think you brought so many cool ideas to this. Like I think the Scuba Safari is probably my favorite addition. And that's something that like going to Setopolis early and like having the chance to explore the region, it fleshes it out more, it gives it more story, and I really like that. And also, you gave some Pokemon that I really like some cool abilities. Maybe not the best balancing wise, but I don't care.
No, absolutely not.
Like, but you know, most people would like to try to make a difficulty hack or something like that. What did you want to keep it chill as a design philosophy? Like, yeah, it's a chill game, it's a pretty game. I want to make it a chill playthrough. I want to solo this game with Apom. Like, what was the balancing idea?
Absolutely not like a difficulty hack. I feel like that like niche, I guess, is already pretty like filled. Like I'm never gonna beat like Radical Red or Inclement Emerald or like Pokemon Run and Bun for like difficulty. And honestly, just like from my personal experience, difficulty hacks frustrate me more than anything just because I'm not very good at it. You know, like I'm willing to admit that I'm like, well, I want to play with the guys that I really like. And
Yes.
it's like, well, those are never the good ones. It definitely was not meant to be like a difficulty hack. I probably went too far the other way because like this is my first hack that I've even gotten close to completing. So like definitely my first release. I did not have any experience with balancing, and so just like I had a list of abilities and stuff opened up on another window. I was like, that one sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'll give Frostlass Soul Heart, and it's like, well, okay, that's kind of crazy.
If you hadn't given Frostlass so hard, I probably wouldn't have beat this Nuzlocke, by the way. So, but it is definitely a broken ability, and I think it makes it more fun. I'm not sure if it makes more Pokemon viable, but it is a pretty game to look at. I think like walking into Fall Arbor, it feels like I was playing this almost on Halloween, and it has this patches, and it's almost this not cottagecore, but it's like it's very autumn grove aesthetic somehow. So playing through a chill game with a chill team, I think it is something that speaks. I think it's true to your art style, and I think it makes sense to your design philosophy, so I think that's super, super cool. And then, of course, you made a lot of Pokemon very viable here, so I have to ask you, Apom or Spheal?
Yeah, it depends on the minute you ask me, honestly.
Right now.
Right now. I gotta say Apom. And I know that I'm a Spiel online. In this very moment, if I could choose whether to have a Spiel sitting next to me or an Apom, I think that's because I don't know if you ever read like the Gold and Silver like manga. The main character that has like a little Apom hanging out with him, and I think like when I read that when I was like 6, that just permanently changed my brain chemistry. I was like, I want an ape on my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So
and the Handtail, I think, is very useful, right?
Yeah. I just think it's a funny little guy. Those are all my favorite Pokemon, are the funny little guys.
That's cool. And also, looking at the documentation, there's a lot of names in there. I know you used a lot of assets from different artists, but like, how was the day-to-day when working on this hack? Was this something you worked mostly alone and then you decided to share, or did you have the help from a lot of people? Like, how was the crafting process, kind of?
The day-to-day, honestly, was mostly just me. I would bounce around from, like, part to part of the ROM hack, and then, you know, whenever I got too bored or burnt out working on graphics, I'd work on, you know, the stats or, like, trainer changes or whatever, and I keep bouncing back and forth until it was pretty much done, but definitely a good amount of collaboration. I'm the only one that like work directly on like the source code of it, I guess. But I had a few people send me like code repositories of like other features and stuff like that. That would be really great. Like that's how like pinball got added and the
Yes, yes,
ability to
yes.
like turn off battle backgrounds and stuff like that. That was all thanks to other people who are better at coding than me, being like, "Oh yeah, like I could help you out." Like, wow, that's super generous with like all the pixel art and stuff like that. I really do not consider myself a pixel artist. I can try, I can make some things, but not quite to the quality that I really wanted the game to be. So that like I reached out to a lot of different artists and stuff like that to see if I could use their content in the game. So it's only possible because of other people. I just kind of put a lot of it together.
Yes, I did talk a little bit to Pokabi, the creator of Emerald Rogue, about this. We were talking about the Emerald, the Gen 3 decomps, and these repositories as well, how much of the hard work was already done by a lot of very hands-on developers, and then the hard part is already done, and then you can focus on being artsy and creative, and it's super cool that...
Absolutely.
I want to also talk about the community reception, which you were super happy to see people like Flygon playing, and we talked a little bit about how this went out there. Did you have a moment where you felt like, oh my god, this got popular, or like when was it that you realized that okay, a lot of people are playing my game and there are thousands of people watching? Like,
well, like on the week I was gonna release, so my personal deadline for my release was that I wanted it to be out before the semester of college started. So for me, that was the end of August. So I was gonna release it like at the end of that week, and I had a ton of like DMs and messages and stuff like that begging for like a midnight release, which I wasn't like planning for, and I was like, I think people actually really want to play this game. So it was just, that was a pretty surreal moment for me. So I did the midnight release and then immediately went to bed because I think I moved back to college the next day. So I was like, I think I need to sleep.
A chill day,
but,
probably, right? It was uneventful, right?
I woke up and I don't remember exactly how many downloads I had, but I had way more than I was expecting it to get in like the whole lifetime. I don't know if it was at 1,000 yet, but it was at least a few hundred, and I was like, whoa, okay, people actually really do want to play this. And then so my friends would send me like, hey, like I watched this YouTuber and they played your game, and I'd be like, oh my god, you know? And I mean, obviously it's still happening now. Like Flygon just uploaded his video like a few weeks ago, I believe. And obviously I got the notification that you were streaming Emerald Seaglass, and I was like, oh my god! It's been surreal and so much bigger and better than I expected. I'm very grateful for the community that's kind of been built around it.
No, that's super sweet. Also, as I said, I finished the run yesterday, and it was a blast playing it on stream, and having you join was also a very big delight, because I get very nervous at Nuzlocke, so I was feeling very, very privileged for you having sent me the teams on the DM to prepare and stuff like that. But yes, talking about community, your Discord right now is super big. It has 25,000 people. And as a queer person, you know, it's a moment right now. You have, you know, pronouns in bio and stuff like that, so that's something that people can get, I don't know, can have some weird reactions to. So how has been navigating the ROM hacking scene for you as a non-binary person, right? And also, do you feel like the ROM hacking scene is an inclusive space, and which kind of challenges have you been facing?
Honestly, I was really surprised at like how little pushback I got. So I was very nervous when the community started to grow beyond like the 6 people that were in the Discord for the first like week or two. I was very nervous about like the reception. Obviously right now it's a very polarizing time, scary time. So I was definitely kind of nervous. And I mean, it's through pretty much any online space. You're going to have some people that are kind of maybe not the best. I think I've only really had like 1 or 2 people that I needed to like actually ban because they were like misgendering me on purpose or just, spewing some awful stuff. But out of thousands, that's
Out
really
of
not so
two out of
bad.
25,000, I think that you are building a very cool community here. Actually,
It's
that's super
I I'm
delightful.
I'm very yeah I'm thrilled really with it. So I know like especially in the Pokemon community, like I feel like in the past years anyway, there's been such a shift and there's a lot more like queer acceptance, I guess, in like the Pokemon community, which is really very good. I breathed a sigh of relief, kind of not needing to worry about it. Usually, like if people said something a little bit, wrong or use the wrong pronouns for me or anything like that, someone else would correct them before I even saw the message. Really kind of surprisingly good, at least in my experience.
That's super sweet to hear, and I'm glad that you're having good experiences in the ROM hacking scene. And I have a video called "Why Do Queer People Love Pokemon?" and in it, I don't really have an answer, so I just read answers from a lot of people. And I wanted to ask you, why do you think queer people love Pokemon?
I think it's because there's just so many like different and interesting like Pokemon and like trainer characters and stuff like that. So there's just so many different identities in Pokemon and like different aesthetics you can build your team around. Like it's true that every Pokemon is someone's favorite, um, which I have learned through the community with people yelling at me for not including certain ones. And I'm like, I guess I didn't remember that one existed.
Yeah. I think
But
that being a public person online, you always need to be very careful when you say something about any Pokemon, even if you think
yeah,
that nobody cares about that Pokemon, because there will be at least 20 comments of people who love Veluza very much. So it's kind of
yeah.
crazy.
And I'm like, wow. I guess I didn't know there were stands of like Bruxish out there, and they kind of turned me with that.
I know a few
But
actually.
yeah. So I think that's really what attracts like so many queer people. It's such a big community, and there's so much diversity in like the Pokemon franchise and stuff like that. And I think there's something there that's really appealing to queer people like me. I don't have a super specific answer for really what that is,
No,
but
I think I agree. I think it's very sweet, and thanks for sharing. Also, I had a last question prepared, which was about the future, but you have shared some spoilers with me about the future in this past few hours, and I'm really excited to talk about that. Do you want to talk to us a little bit more about your new exciting project?
yeah. So my next project, right now anyway, it might have a name change, but as of right now, it's Pokemon Sunset. So it's a new game in a very similar like graphical style to Emerald Seaglass, but it'll be taking place in a whole brand new region called the Ilios region that's going to be based on Greece. So they're all custom maps, custom gyms, gym leaders, characters, everything. I'm planning on about 350 Pokemon in the deck because the region will be like a little bit smaller, I think, than the average Pokemon region, just because it's a little bit more manageable for me.
You're working alone again, right?
I am,
Yeah.
yes. It'll be a little bit smaller, but that is kind of what I want there to be. I want there to be a good amount of kind of like backtracking and like that feeling of exploration and finding all these new Pokemon. I'm really excited about it.
I feel like when revamping or redesigning an old region, there are a few moments where you get a little bit limited. Like, a quick example is when you take the cable car to the top of the volcano in Emerald Seaglass, it's still the original Gen 3 assets. But from here, you are creating everything from scratch, so you can use all the assets you have at your disposal. Talking creatively about, creative freedom and exploring different things, different mini games, different whatever, how different it is to create a new region rather than working with an old one.
I mean, working with the old region is definitely easier. I feel like by default, And so anyone who's like looking to make their own ROM hack, just use Hoenn as a base for your first one, because you'll learn a lot. But like it's by default, I feel like easier because all the dialogue is already there, all the trainer battles are there. You don't have to make anything new like that unless you want to, go in and change that. But you have like a solid base already. Versus with a new region, everything is from scratch. All the NPC dialogue, even the ones that like nobody will talk to, you have to have them say something.
Someone will talk to them, be sure.
Someone will talk to them,
Yes.
yeah. And you don't want it to just be blank. So all that, the trainers, you have to think of like a story, a region layout, like interesting and fun to explore. So it's definitely more work in like that aspect, but it's so much more freeing. In Emerald Seaglass, there were definitely plenty of limitations because of the map already fully existing. So obviously some I changed a lot more than the others, like Fall Arbor Town I just kind of completely redid. Most of the areas I tried to keep like with a similar vibe with what it normally had, which did kind of limit me. I'm also limited a lot of the time to what assets I can get, like from like purchasing from artists or commissioning and stuff like that. At a certain point, I can't, there's not going to be like a perfect tile fit for everything. So sometimes that leads to things like the cable car, or a lot of the interiors in Emerald Seaglass have some like Game Boy Color style sprites, but some are just like pretty much the default Pokemon Emerald. It's a lot more and things that you wouldn't normally think about to make a whole region from scratch. But again, it's so much more freeing. It's going to be like my complete creative vision. Like whatever I think a really good region would be, I can make this, and it's really exciting.
Looking from the images you shared with me, I really like this arcade vibe you got going on here. I also think that is that an apple farm or something like that? An apple tree, some apple trees?
Yeah,
or
just
so?
like, I think it's just like a general fruit
Yeah.
farm. I really don't even know what the purple fruits are supposed to be. There's like grapevines.
It reminds me of that Kitakami area with the uplands and stuff. But I wanted to ask you, did you get any feedback or something that the biggest thing that you learned from Seaglass that you were applying here? Like,
biggest thing I learned is to not try to do a major update in the middle of development. So some context is that for both of these projects, Seaglass and Sunset, I'm using the Poké Emerald expansion like decomp project base, which is super impressive and maintained by a bunch of really active programmers that make the community what it is. Very, very impressive people, very helpful people. But with each like major update, sometimes a lot of things get like refactored or recoded and stuff like that. That can make updating kind of a difficult process. And I get confused by code a pretty good amount. I'm not going to say I'm bad at it, because I do take pride in like my ability to do some of it, but I definitely was stumped by some of the things. So I guess this is kind of a story time of Seaglass development here now. But kind of late in development, an update for that code base dropped that included following Pokemon. I wanted that, and I think overall that was still the right choice to make that update. It makes the game so cute. I didn't even expect it to be in the initial release, and then I just like locked in and did all the following Pokemon in like a week. It was unbelievable.
It is.
But I don't regret that decision at all. But the downside to that is ended up breaking a lot of my code for other parts. So that is why there's that flash every turn in battle. There was not that until a few days before release, when that problem became apparent, that battles were crashing all the time because the sprites were getting corrupted. And I had people who worked on the Emerald expansion, someone who has worked on like creating like Game Boy Advance like emulators, like look at the code, and as far as I have heard anyway, nobody can figure out what happened. So that's probably the biggest thing I learned is that at a certain point, just like choose the version that you're going to work on and stick with it. You know, get your creative vision and just go with it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my biggest update. So I guess that's also why for people who still ask for a fix to the flashing sprites in battle, I'm sorry, I don't know what
It's
to
one
do.
frame. Like, come on. People, stop asking me. It's one frame. Deal with it. I'm sorry. But I mean, it is super impressive that you managed to do that in a week. I also assume, like, those are all custom sprites. Like, those are not from any other game, I assume. And people are to this day praising Heart Gold and Soul Silver for being the best games in the franchise. And when you ask, yeah, but why are those the best games? They are gonna say, following Pokemon. So it is something that everybody loves, and I love too, but I can't really put a finger on why is it so important. And I think it has a lot to do with vibes, right?
Yeah.
We are playing this for the vibes. We want to play with cute little guys, and the cute little guys are following us. Like, this is... It's world building, and I think it adds a lot to the charm of your visual style. It adds a lot to, you know, the connection you have with those very, very pretty sprites. I'll try to wrap it up so we don't go for extra long. And how did you choose which Pokemons to include in Sunset? And do we have spiky-eared Pichu?
So I've been using a online tool called, I think it's Star Dex. Huge shout out to whoever made that. But you can basically, like, you type in like a list of Pokemon that you want in your decks, and it gives you like all these statistics on like the balance of and compares it to the balance of the other regions, like type wise, and like with the numbers of Pokemon in each type, so that, you know, it maintains like a good balance there. So honestly, that's been huge. That's what I've been using. That's the next tab I have open. And so that was really like my main process, would be having like the national Pokédex page on Cerebi pulled up.
Yes.
And just like scrolling through and being like, I need a couple more of this type, and these are some that I like. I think it's a good combination of like all-timer Pokemon that like a ton of people love, and some kind of, you know, Pokemon that people forget about. So I'm planning on there being a good range of Pokemon from Generation 1 through 9. That's a big difference from Emerald Seaglass, which was only Gens 1 through 3 plus cross-gen evolution.
And Tinkaton.
And also Tinkaton and the Apple line, because I liked them. But yeah, so that's going to be a big difference. So there's going to be a lot of Pokemon people haven't really seen in that Game Boy Color art style, which I think is a big part of like the novelty of this art style and type of ROM hack. Very excited about that. And Spiky-eared Pichu is in the plan.
Yes,
I love,
yes.
I love it. I might have to rebalance it a little bit, but you know, I don't know.
Technician maybe was a bit too much.
Maybe the technician was loud.
Yes.
It was a pretty late edition to Seaglass. So I guess I didn't really playtest that one enough, but it's fun.
Yes,
you know,
it is. I beat the game, and according to a very well-known Nuzlocke, I am now officially the best spiky-eared Pichu Nuzlocke in the world. So stay tuned. Maybe next week, you have the full video of my Emerald Seaglass Nuzlocke to check that out. But that's nice. That's nice. Okay, and I want to finalize with one final question. There was somebody on my Discord that was inspired by Emerald Seaglass. Like, during the stream, they decided to start a ROM hacking project and already shared a few screenshots on Discord, which I thought was super nice. Yes, so congrats for that. If there is someone watching us right now who really wants to do a crazy, artistic, bold, creative ROM hack, which advice do you have for them? What are the basics that they need to know?
Use the decomp projects. Look it up. Find a tutorial on how to install it. I believe the YouTube channel is Team Aqua's Hideout.
It's gonna be
great tutorials on all their stuff. Saved me, you know, making the hack more than once. I like looking up what to do and watching their videos. That's my main advice to anybody making a ROM hack. Use that. It's open source. It's for the public. There's a thriving community around it. And if you have a question, you will be able to find help. And honestly, someone's probably asked that same question 20 times. But like there are good resources out there to help you. And my other advice would just jump in and do it. I know it's kind of cheesy, probably, but
It's
you
true,
know,
really.
if you just kind of think about, you know, all these interesting ideas for your ROM hack and stuff like that, that's great. You know, like that's a really good kind of first step. But I think that like actually downloading the source code, you know, like downloading the decomp project and looking through the code and the files and how everything's laid out is a really, you know, important step to actually like getting it done. And I promise, like once that ball gets rolling, you will find like a good work system, you'll get your good workflow, and eventually you'll have something that you can be really proud of.
Yes. That's lovely. Thanks so much, Nemo. Thanks a lot for speaking to me. Thanks a lot for the game. It is a beautiful game, and thanks a lot for taking the time. It was very nice to, you know, I think I also want to use my channel as really a spotlight to talk to ROM hack creators and people in the community, because we see these people playing the games all the time. You have all the big YouTubers playing it, but we hardly ever hear from the people who go there and do it. So I really appreciate you took the time to share a little bit of inspirations, processes, and if you want to have a final moment here to talk about your coffee page, to invite people to join your Discord, to invite people to play Emerald Seaglass, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I'm kind of starstruck, but I'm thrilled to be, you know, talking about it, because you're right, you know, I've been playing ROM hacks since I was probably like 12, and I don't think I ever heard anything about like the actual creators. So it's been really nice in the past like year or so getting involved in the community and meeting some of these people. I think that's really important as someone who plays the games to actually hear what's up like behind the scenes. So yeah, the patch 3.0 is still the newest version, probably the final version for Seaglass. I'm happy with everything in it. I'm really proud of it. That patch is up on my Ko-Fi coffee. I'm not super sure how to say it. That's up on that page. If you have the disposable income, you know, donations are welcome, but you know, don't worry about that. Please just download and play my game. Have fun with it. That's what it's there for. The money that's from the Ko-Fi page has actually been going toward commissions for that, which has been really awesome. So another thank you to everybody who has supported my game, because it's made this next project possible. There's plenty of sprites out there that don't exist yet that I
an artist needs to get paid. So
have in the game. So
go
exactly,
Nemo on their coffee page.
Support artists.
Yes.
Support artists. So yeah, please, you know, keep playing my game, I guess. And thanks for having fun with it, and thanks for having me on.
Yes, and best of luck with Sunset. I'm already excited, and I'm sure we'll all be talking about it in a few months as soon as it comes out. So thanks a lot for taking the time. And this was it, dear stranger online. Don't forget that all the resources Nemo mentioned, as well as their coffee page, will be linked in the description of this video. This one was really fun to make, and it's a bit different from the usual video I make on this channel. So please leave a comment below if you'd like to see more often these kinds of conversations highlighting cool and important people in the Pokemon community. Don't forget to do your usual YouTube stuff like liking and subscribing to help me navigate the deep and treacherous waters of the YouTube algorithm. The video with my hardcore girly pop Nuzlocke of Emerald Seaglass comes next week, maybe? And it's filled with fun moments, tragedies, wipes, and shiny legendaries for you to watch. Turn notifications on so you don't miss it. And I hope to see you back on this channel soon.